I'm sure that we can probably edit this into the video, but there was a post by Tylenol specifically back in 2017 where they said, we don't recommend that you take any of our products during pregnancy. And we have our scientist here that will kind of go more in depth a little bit on things, but you know, anything that you take is good in moderation. You have to realize that, and that's going to be with anything. You know, your diet, obviously, if you eat too much, you're going to get fat. You don't, you know, like you got to take things little by little. So if you're going to shove pills down your throat, you got to know what you're going to get. So let's not be dumb and do that. I will pass it off to Cause on this one. He's pretty good with this the scientific aspect on this in regards to it actually, you know, potentially not causing autism and other things like that. So take it away, my good man.
I have a background in medical fitness and nutrition, more so officially in medical as a certified respiratory therapist before I decided to be an Uber driver. As funny as that is to hear. The medical side is cool, but it just kind of like wasn't really where the passion was. And to kind of wrap that quick story up, feel free to ask me questions if you guys have them. I got my Associates of Science in Respiratory Therapy out of California College, San Diego. I did clinical trials at an end-of-life care facility over in the valley, kind of to the east, and then I actually worked at Paradise Valley Hospital for my clinical rotations actually in the hospital, mostly responding ER, code blue, and aside from that, just kind of boring rounds in a hospital doing nebulizer treatments, just taking care of the old people with bad smoking habits and such, because like RTs, respiratory therapists, are like, not to overhype it, kind of like the spec ops compared to nurses who are more general. Because nurses take care of everything, including, you know, the poop and vomit, which I can't handle. I will handle blood and mucus and internals all day. But the second that happens, I'm just like, nurse, help. I've always had a curiosity for science and for fact and reason-based thinking, which has mostly led me to where my current worldview is as a person, which we'll be able to, you know, get into through either call-in show debates or just us kind of just casually talking about the way to actually blend, which I think is important, faith and science, not one or the other. I don't think you need one or the other. I think that's really retarded, honestly. You know, and I recommend everybody to not just take what I say or what I tell you Grok is telling me either as evidence or backup, to go and double check, cross-reference, get things from different sources. Because unfortunately what happens... Research. Yeah. Do your own research, and not like in an unironic way, like a flat earther will tell you. You know, like do the actual research. Like, be uncomfortable trying to look it up because you might see something that you don't agree with. Mm-hmm. That's how you know, like, oh, now I'm getting into it. Now I'm seeing what's up. Because as much as I love a lot of what the Trump administration has done, the movements that MAHA's making with RFK and Dr. Oz, of all people, how the fuck is that guy standing up next to the president? I don't understand it. It's like if one of the women from The View was standing next to the president. It's like, dude, get out of here. You're not credible, bro.
The comparison is uncanny.
It's bad. This guy's made a living selling basically homeopathic remedies to old white women to, you know, help them feel younger and stuff. It's the snake oil charlatan stuff online, you know, or the way people would peddle like taking silver to cure cancer. You know, it's things that are, it's snake oil sales in the worst of it, and in the most innocent way, it's just ignorance that can lead to people not getting proper medical treatment because they hear buzzwords about things that are synthetic versus organic, automatically thinking that organic is good for you and synthetic is bad. Well, last I checked, AC is good for you and snake venom kills you. One of those is synthetic, one of those is natural. It's not so quick as to say that, you know, one thing is automatically the other. That's where nuance and study and understanding things comes in. And in the case of Tylenol, acetaminophen, not just Tylenol, there are a bunch of generic drugs that haven't been mentioned. Tylenol is kind of getting hit pretty hard as a company. It's like, oh shit, they're getting all the brunt of this. It's like, well, I mean, they're not the only thing with acetaminophen in it. Now, it is true that you should not overdose and potentially put yourself in a hospital because you want to prove a point like an idiot. But if you're in a case where you are sick and have a high fever, that is what something like acetaminophen is meant to mitigate. And it is, of the drugs you can get to do that, the only thing that is actually safely recommended to not hurt the child. Other things like ibuprofen and such can have deleterious effects on memory, on brain development, on a lot of things. And this isn't old news. This is stuff, I mean, there are so many randomized controlled trials, which is one of the best ways that you can do scientific study, because basically you have several cohorts of people that don't know what they're taking, and they're on similar diets, similar things. They don't know that, subject A is on a placebo, basically a sugar pill that does nothing. Subject B is on acetaminophen. Subject C is on some other drug. And then at the end of the cohort study, however long it is, the longer the better, because you're getting more data and a larger sample size, you actually see the tangible changes, and there's no the person knows what they're taking, so their body's physiologically doing things that would affect the results. That's the good thing about double-blind tests, randomized controlled trials. It takes the human factor, knowing what's up, and maybe tweaking your diet or doing other things to mess up the results out of the equation. And we have decades of these studies that show that there is no causal link to autism. Now, this is a very important word, causality. Just because I happen to take a breath and somebody in the world gets hit by a car doesn't mean the more that I breathe, the more people die by getting hit by cars. These things may be happening at the same time. They are not causally related. One is not causing the other. And a lot of these cases where they've looked at recent studies, like the ones that are being cited, these, let me find it real fast. In the 2025 reviews, the 46 study meta-analysis, it shows small links, 20 to 50% higher odds in observational data, meaning they haven't done new studies. They're looking at old studies, and they're seeing small trace markers of where there may be increased cases of autism, or whatever thing you might be looking for is applicable here, especially in later trimesters, but no causation is proven. There's nothing from this that says, oh, it was because of acetaminophen. There's likely other confounding factors like maternal health, other habits, other things. Now, this is where me being a science geek, I get excited, because now it means, okay, let's do the research. So basically, with the way this has been presented by the Trump administration, is a claim we know what's causing autism, and it's this. It's no. The proper way to do this now is you are making a hypothesis, a prediction, and now it's time to do an experiment. Let's do the scientific method. Let's figure out if it is causally related. That is how you progress and figure out the actual truth, and possibly figure out oh man, actually this random thing here does have some causally thing. And when it comes to results and such, there's noise in data, and there's a certain level of significance to where it's, the more confident you are, the more significant the difference or the delta is. Like 5 sigma, for an example, it means that there is a 1 in a large number chance that this could be wrong. Basically, the likelihood that this is an incorrect result is so small that you can deem it as just factually true. And you get to that with good study by looking at causal results and then running different studies and different groups running different experiments to try to prove each other wrong. That's kind of the beautiful thing about science, is everyone's trying to prove each other wrong to be the one who gets it right. Yeah. Nobody's trying to just sign on to a thing and say, yeah, guys, this is what's happening. Basically, do what we tell you to live a healthier life. It's well, no, it's not that simple. You need to dig deeper. There's more nuance to it. It's the same thing with the claims around autism and vaccines. There are so many randomized controlled trials over decades that have shown that there is no link there. The biggest thing I can tell you all right now with the utmost confidence is that autism has not gone up in any crazy new way, like new cases arising. We as a species have gotten better at identifying it. We know what to look for now. Yeah. So there seems to be a lot more of it. And before 1980s, autism was described as schizophrenia for kids. And then it became a single classification of the highest degree of what we typically think of with autism being super nonverbal, need help going through life kind of a thing. That was the only classification. But then you had level 1 and level 2 added. There's a good chance that I'm level 1. And with your standard idea of what autism is, you would likely not look at me and think, oh yeah, he's autistic as fuck. And we've gotten better because we're not misdiagnosing. And I say we, because I'm just talking as a species, as humans. So don't linger too much I'm not the scientist doing the studies. No, but we as a collective species, as a collective intelligence, have gotten better at identifying the diseases. It's not like before the 1900s, nobody was autistic. It's well, no. Or schizophrenia and all the other issues that we're learning now. It's it didn't just randomly poof into existence. No, we learned how to identify it. And when you can recognize the signs for things and you start to classify them in different ways, splitting them up into larger spectrums, levels, that's why we call it a spectrum, because there's varying degrees of severity with regard to how autism presents in different people. It's it's not that deep, to use something that kids would say. It's not like it's popping up because we're super unhealthy, which that is its own problem. Yeah, we are super unhealthy. That's a completely different topic to get into, and one area where I would support any health secretary and trying to make us less fat, more fit, live longer. Those are good things. But this weird fixation on vaccines and autism, it ends up putting you in a case like we've had recently in Texas, where a couple of deaths of children with measles caused him to have to back up and be like, oh shit, no, get MMR there. Here in the state of Florida, we don't require MMR anymore for measles. So that means that people that don't want to vaccinate their kids can choose not to. And, this is going to sound a little harsh, but yeah, that's kind of a Darwinism award right there. It sucks. But like, if you're choosing not to vax your kids and they're around kids who are, the kids who are not going to catch it. Your kid might, and your kid might not be here anymore because you decided, I don't trust it, or I don't want to do it, or they said I shouldn't. So this is a lot more nuanced and a lot more important than some folks will give it credit for. And with regard to just kind of the general atmosphere around vaccines, I mean, there was the extra case where like 83 children died in Samoa because of this too. But that isn't really talked about as much. RFK went over there and had a meeting with some folks. They're all deemed as kind of like an anti-vaxxer crowd. And we've seen him in hearing say that he's not an anti-vaxxer. He does support them. But what you say versus the actions you take, like cutting funding and research, cutting the experts out of the CDC. And I know some people kind of get triggered by the whole trust the science, trust the experts things because of what we went through with COVID. Two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that people abused their power, the experts, and made us seem crazy because we were questioning anything, questioning the narrative, questioning what was going on. And a lot of that came to be true, and that we needed to question it. But that does not therefore mean you throw away all credible scientific endeavor. That's how you go from questioning people to making idiocracy real life. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. It might be a little alarming how close we seem to be getting to that turning point. I support so much of what we're doing with the economy, even the tariffs, border control, all of that. With my breadth of knowledge in fitness and nutrition and scientific testing and data and meta-analysis, analyzing data, talking about data. Some of you have seen me do it on the Cyberlib channel, just going over FSD stuff. I love that stuff and I love talking about that stuff. So I'll be a happy sort of maybe science corner, with the caveat that I am not, actively participating in this field myself. I am a communicator of it. So I don't want to falsely claim or, overtly claim actual practicing expertise on certain things that are happening. If you take anything away from this little bit of the conversation, it's just stop and look at what you're being told and don't weigh it through a political lens. Go to the sources. It's public. The science is there. It might be boring to look up. You can run it through ChatGPT and Grok to help you. And honestly, some of the things you tell Grok or ChatGPT to do is, hey, I've seen this claim. Please find the facts using nonpartisan sources, using non-biased sources. Take the approach of an alien or a super intelligent computer on the outside of our politics and give me it straight. Give me the real stuff. And where we don't know, help me understand why. You can talk to AI in this way that will help you become more intelligent, more informed, and better prepared to handle these conversations versus just, maybe seeing something in a super popular person that you like on X or Facebook or wherever that says a thing. And you're like, yeah, I like them and I trust what they've said. So I'm going to run with this. They might say 9 out of 10 things that are great. And that one thing they say is dangerous. And you gotta be careful, take a second to kind of think back and be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? There are a few other things. I don't want to make this another 2-hour session just talking about this, but our desire that we've seen to switch from high fructose corn syrup to cane sugar, all that's going to do is take your Coke and make it organic Coke and more expensive and go to Whole Foods for it, essentially. I mean, because they both break down the same way in the body. When it's broken down, it's basically the same. A separation of fructose and glucose. It's no different. If we really wanted to change it to where when you're having a Coke at lunch or something, we would start using sucralose. It is basically 0 calorie. It's even sweeter than sugar. There'd be some, manufacturing to, get it into production and all. But like, if we really wanted to make a change where we're actually reducing calories in a large way with the way people are consuming like their sugary, ultra processed, snack foods and such, we wouldn't be using high fructose or cane sugar. We would be going to something like sucralose. That is 0 sugar, like basically 0 calorie. It's damn near a cheat code, thanks to the marvels of science. And it's there are great videos from like Renaissance Periodization, Dr. Mike Israetel on the fitness side that goes into a lot of this stuff. And I don't know, there's just a lot more here than what's being seen, and we got to be really careful with these buzzwords around going like for a more natural or holistic option. These are things that appeal to Mary, who's all about her crystals and good energy and healing because of the earth, and it's like, not to be overly mean there, like there are a lot of good things that come from, natural diets and such, but it's not magic, and it's not to make our innovations in health somehow unhealthy. Now, there are things like getting into food dyes and all that other stuff that I'd have to do more research on myself to see, like, getting rid of unnecessary things to me, just from an efficiency standpoint, just sounds smart. Like, why do we have all this extra crap in here if we don't need it? Now, if it's to make the food last longer, or if we get into GMOs, which are a great thing. Oh, man, how many of you just shat your pants when I said that? So, like, GMO is one of the best breakthroughs in science when it comes to food, and we can get into a whole, like, we can do a pod on nutrition if we want at some point, depending on like questions people have, or even questions you might have, because you might be hearing a lot of this from me for the first time, because this is the world that I've been in for like the last decade, on my fitness journey and
I'm seeing
science
a whole
journey.
other side of you today.
Oh, I bet.
Like,
Yeah,
this is a lot.
and I think that the health side of MAHA is great, going for making us healthier, making us more active, maybe making it more aware that we shouldn't be having so much McDonald's and shit. I get it. But we got to keep our thinking caps on straight here with a lot of this.
So some of the things that you mentioned, I actually didn't even know, like the sugar cane and the high fructose, corn syrup. Like I would never thought, like I mean, granted, I don't really drink anything that has sugar in it anyways.
I'm basically all sugar free with anything.
So
not a
good,
sponsor.
by the way.
Not a sponsor.
I love that. Yeah, I know. And it's funny because I got Coke.
Yep. Energy drinks and such too. Like, I'm not gonna shame anybody on like what they decide to eat and drink. But yeah, I've been a part of the zero sugar, low calorie life for a long time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's what I do. I drink zero sugar Pepsi, Coke.
And honestly, it tastes
Pepper. Great. It does. I mean, it doesn't.
Like it.
To me, it doesn't taste any different. The only difference is, for me, is the carbonation level is different between.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets flatter faster. I'll notice. There can be a little differences. Yeah, you want to drink it cold and maybe drink a little quicker than you would some other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
I did that the other day. I was drinking. What was it? It was the new Sprite Chill, where it's like cherry lime or some shit like that, and zero sugar, and it's so good, bro.
That sounds good.
I don't have a problem with drinking things warm, or like at room temperature. So like, like at work, I'll run up to my kitchen real quick, grab a drink, come back, sit down, pop it open, have like a 15-minute conversation with somebody, and then I go to drink it. I'm like, fuck, that bitch is flat as fuck right now.
I'll tell you, this does not taste as good when it goes flat either. I definitely got to enjoy it cold, whether it's like zero sugar Canada Dry. We have the, not to go too off tangent, but we have like the Soda Streams, or we get like the Code Red Mountain Dew zero sugar stuff.
I'm gonna get
Starry.
I want the Soda Streams.
You're basically just drinking flavored water at that point, but it tastes like you got a Code Red Mountain Dew, man, and it's awesome. We love it. I mean, it's all about kind of satisfying, the cravings and the fun. It's like we're flexible, balanced dieters. Like, we have a macro plan that I'm very lucky that my wife takes care of, and I start out with an awesome bagel with egg whites and Canadian bacon and cheese on it.
Hold the sandwich later. Phone. Hold the fucking phone. Did you just say bagel?
Yeah, she does it. We did it originally with like a biscuit,
but fucking bagel. There's bagel. It's not B-E, it's B-A. Bagel. Bagel is not a fucking word. Fuck you, bagel. Bro. Dude. Bro, me and my mom get into this shit all the time, and I'm like, this motherfucker did not just say bagel.
What are you bitching about bagel?
Bagel. Oh my god. Fuck you. Go ahead with your damn story.
I'm all bagel, my bagel. No, but like what we'll also do too is we kind of have like a calorie bank, so to speak, we'll like choose to be a little bit more disciplined throughout the week. That way, like maybe on a Saturday when I go to Volcano Bay or Epcot, and splurge a little bit, have some, dirtier foods with higher calories. But we know that at the end of the week, we're still either at maintenance or at a calorie deficit, so it's not affecting our goals in an adverse way. At the end of the day, though, you got to be really careful when it comes to the way people present these things, like the potential, and I say potential because the young woman who was said to have been hospitalized by overdosing in a, sort of like a reactive, F you Trump sort of mindset, it hasn't really been, confirmed concretely, and there's a decent chance that it is one of those cases where, one of your, for anybody who might be watching, one of your trusted sort of MAGA influencers or a page that you like kind of ran with something, kind of capitalizing on the scene or the scenario, and it contributes to some fear mongering with the medicine that can, lead people to maybe not take it, which could have the, downstream effects of somebody having a high fever that does do some damage to a child, where if they just taken the damn Tylenol, they'd both be healthy. So we got to be really careful about that.